20 years ago, people talk about trade, it's mainly about the benefits of globalization. Now people talk about trade because they are a little bit upset about the side effects of globalization. As trade minister, what do you make of it?
Malaysia is a country which has been benefiting from globalization and trade. We've always been dependent for centuries. Malaysia has been a trading nation, and now our trade to GDP ratio is 170%. We are one of the most trade-dependent economies in the world. So it is in our interest to see a more open trading regime. It is unfortunate that there appears to be some backtracking, but I think common sense will prevail. I see this as a temporary aberration, which is, I think, the way forward. People know trade benefits the world, but of course, the losers and winners. What we need to do is to make sure that national policies. I mean, you need to have strong policies to make sure that trade is inclusive.
Mr. Minister, when it comes to inclusive trade, there seems to be two kinds of categories we can talk about. One is developed economies. They benefit from trade. By this time, they see more developing emerging economies like Malaysia, like China, benefit even more than them. What do you think about this mindset? What is the appropriate mindset?
It is unfair because developed countries, starting with the British, the Dutch, the Portuguese, the Spanish, and later the Americans, they have benefited a lot from trade. And trade has been one of the main drivers of development in the mother countries, countries which used to be our colonial masters. And now that emerging economies are getting the benefits of trade, they're saying, you've been unfair, you don't have good standards, and you're subsidizing your trade. You got to be fair because there's a development agenda in trade, which is very important. We have, there are developed countries, developing countries. You have to narrow the gap, and it's bad for the world. If that gap can be bridged through trade. Of course, it's got to be fair trade. So we need some more understanding on the part of developed countries.
But Mr. Minister, what if there is protectionism? I mean, with the new administration coming into the United States, there have been previous campaign rhetoric, at least, about certain policies. So what can countries like Malaysia do if something really happened in that direction?
Firstly, we hope it will not happen. And secondly, if it happens, it is not a full scale. A scale of 0 to 1. We hope only 0.1% of those things of rhetoric is translated into reality. And we believe, as I say, in the end, common sense will prevail because the fact is the world has benefited from trade, and the developed world in particular, has got to understand that the development agenda of trade is important in the context of bring up the level of development. I mean, eliminating poverty in the developing countries. It is so unfair as we develop. As we're trying to reap the benefits of trade, some countries are talking about erecting barriers and increasing protection.
Mr. Minister, for example, the Brexit is happening in Europe. We see more intense regionalization, in fact, in a very different direction in Asia. A lot of economies, such as ASEAN's, and also ASEAN's relationship with +1, +2, +3, and +6, all happening right now. How should we understand these two divergent directions about trade?
Firstly, the first best solution would be multilateral. I mean, you have issues, they've got to be addressed at a multilateral level, which is Geneva, which is WTO. There are about 160 countries in the world which are members of WTO. That would be the first best solution.
Of
course. That's my next point. That's why people are going to regionalism and bilateral. There's been a lot of bilateral trade deals. Malaysia has signed a number of bilateral trade agreements. China has signed agreements with New Zealand, with Australia. So that's another dimension. That reflects the failure of the multilateral system. And the third one, of course, is regionalism, ASEAN. 10 countries, we have done well, we've reduced barriers. So these are manifestations of the failure of the multilateral system. And it's understandable because we have 160 countries. It's impossible to get the very rich to agree to the special requirements of the developing countries.
But even among the ASEAN countries, there are very different political systems, diverse development stages.
But we've been able to work closely with each other, despite the different political systems.
Is trade really the fabric bringing everybody together, you think, Mr. Minister?
Well,
without being biased, I mean, you're the trade minister.
No. I would say the main motivation for ASEAN is this realization that we need to create peace and stability. There will be no trade, no investments without peace. So ASEAN has brought about a lot of peace dividends, and we're reaping and we have trade now because we have peace. We used to be quarreling with each other, problems at the border. Now those are behind us. So that's the most important benefit of ASEAN. It started as a political grouping. The trade and investment agenda came later.
But what about geopolitical factors? I mean, South China Sea, this and that, China, United States in the region, Asia Pacific, and what would ASEAN countries react? All of these are question marks. As a trade minister, how do you communicate with your foreign minister about all of these?
Yeah, of course. I mean, everything is so interconnected, interdependent. That's the world. World is getting smaller. What happens in trade has got implications in diplomacy. What happens in the South China Sea, you know, tension, for example, will have some impact on trade investment. So when one look at all these things, one need to a world view which is comprehensive in nature. So before they say 30 years ago, you can look trade, investment, diplomacy, and that's it. But now everything is so interconnected. So what we need now for policy making, we have to be realistic. And trade or investments, in the end, is about bringing peace and prosperity and benefits to our people, increasing the incomes and reducing poverty. That's the ultimate. That's the ultimate objective.
That is the ultimate, but what is likely to help us to reach there? For example, FTAAP, that's an abbreviation we use so many times this time at Davos. How much do you think about this process of establishing it? Is it efficient enough to really meet the demands of countries involved, really push the trade to another level?
This is what we call the BOGO goals. We aspire to create this FTAP by the year 2020. And the study has been done, and some work has been done. It's not going to be easy, but we have a vision for APEC, 21 economies in the region. And that will bring about closer linkages, closer political ties. And that's what we need in the world. We need peace, stability, and trade can contribute towards that. When people are more prosperous, people know each other better. You have FTAPs, 21 countries. And if you imagine if 21 countries you see each other more often, I mean, you can discuss matters. So that will contribute towards creating global peace and security.
Mr. Minister, that's exactly what the Chinese president was talking about, isn't it? Using FTAAP as an example for regionalization. On the other hand, there are other alternatives. For example, Belt and Road Initiative, also originally coming from China, but very active participation coming from Malaysia at this point. You even started some research institutes specifically about that. So tell me more about how much opportunity really do you think is there for you?
Yeah, firstly, a lot of opportunities for many countries, 60-odd countries throughout Asia. For Malaysia, we believe in the region we are one of the most active promoters of One Belt, One Road. Not only institute, but almost every fortnight we have programs either in Malaysia or in China or Hong Kong. And in all those programs, Malaysian participants have been very active. We welcome this. There's a need for more investments from China, need for more trade. Infrastructure requirements are huge in many parts of ASEAN. Similarly, Malaysia ports in particular, China is going to be coming in a big way, and railway, those are infrastructure projects in particular. Because capital source of funding are limited.
But you know, the most important thing is to make projects work and work as soon as possible for the long term. And how is that likely to happen? And
it's got the benefit of people, and it's going to happen in the very near future. In the case of Malaysia, we have the railway project. We have the port in Malacca, for example, with some property investments, and even in manufacturing. One port in Malaysia is 40% owned, by China now, Bebu Gulf. So these are good developments, and we welcome that. And mind you, in the case of Malaysia, Singapore has been strong, US has been strong, Japan has been strong. So China is coming in, and we like this diversity. We're not overly dependent on any one country. So we're looking at China's contribution in a very positive manner, that we getting closer to China. At the same time, we are remain close to our traditional friends.
Sounds terrific. There are a lot of work to be done. I see.
Yes, implementation, as I say, that's the name.
Yes, indeed. But it's such a pleasure, Mr. Minister, to have you here in Davos and talking to us on CGTN.
And great weather.
Great weather, beautiful, isn't it?
You're going to go
Thank
skiing.
you so much.